No squishies. No squishies. It's so quiet. Good evening. We'll call this meeting to order. If you'd please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Sean, will you please call roll?
Deputy Mayor Baggett.
Here.
Councilmember Brown.
Here.
Councilmember DeCoursey.
Here.
Councilmember Holman.
Here.
Councilmember Trott Manuel. Here. Councilmember Wells.
Okay. There's a process that we're supposed to follow, but apparently she said something at the last meeting about being absent today.
I was not at the last meeting.
Okay. We will remind Councilmember Wales of the process for informing. We will mark her as excused. All right, we will move to proclamations. I have 3 of them tonight. Okay, first one will be for Autism Awareness Month. Do we have anyone in the audience tonight to receive the autism awareness? Okay. All right, this proclamation is the mayor's proclamation. Whereas autism is a developmental disability that typically appears during the first 2 years of life and continues through the individual's lifespan, but typically is not diagnosed until after 4 years of age. And whereas 1 in 68 children are now identified with autism spectrum disorder, almost 5 times more for boys than girls, 1 in 42 for boys and 1 in 189 for girls. And whereas there are many different characteristics in individuals with autism, delayed or deficient communication, decreased or unresponsive social interaction, unusual reaction to normal stimuli, a lack of spontaneous or imaginative play, and behavioral challenges. And whereas there is no known cause or no known cure, however, with aggressive and continuous therapy, some individuals can learn to acclimate and mask their symptoms. And whereas all individuals with autism should be included as valuable members of our community, provided with opportunities and support to live, work, and play as independently as possible. And whereas individuals with autism, their families, caregivers, and advocacy organizations are striving to bring about positive changes for children and adults with autism. Through research, training, public services, support groups, advocacy, and increased awareness, we will be more accepting, inclusive, and better equipped to support the growing number of individuals with autism and their families. And whereas April is observed nationally as Autism Awareness Month, and April 2nd has been declared World Autism Awareness Day by the United Nations General Assembly. And now, therefore, I, Nancy Backus, Mayor of the City of Auburn, do hereby proclaim April 2018 as Autism Awareness Month in the City of Auburn, and encourage our citizens to join me in this special observance. Dated the 16th day of April, 2018. And next, we have Law Day. Mr. City Attorney, would you like to join me? You see, some causes get a month, some get a week. Law Day gets a day, or law gets a day. But it's all it takes, that's right. It's an efficient use of the day. Whereas Law Day is, in the words of President Dwight Eisenhower, who established the first nationwide commemoration, a day of national dedication to the principles of government under law. And whereas the United States Constitution vests legislation, executive, and judicial powers in Congress, a president, and one Supreme Court, respectively. And whereas these three separate branches of the national government share power, and each also serves as a check on the others, on the power of the others. And whereas separation of powers provides a framework for freedom, but this framework is not self-executing, as we, the people, must continually act to ensure that our constitutional democracy endures, preserving our liberties and guaranteeing our rights. And whereas the 2018 Law Day theme enables us to reflect on the separation of powers as fundamental to our constitutional purpose and to consider how our governmental system is working for ourselves and our posterity. And now, therefore, I, Nancy Backus, Mayor of the City of Auburn, do hereby proclaim May 1, 2018 as Law Day in the City of Auburn and encourage our citizens, schools, businesses to use this occasion to preserve and strengthen the rule of law. Dated the 16th day of April, 2018. Dan, I would like to present this to you.
Thank you, Mayor.
And ask if you have any words that you would like to share.
Well, I don't know that I am ever safe to be given a microphone, but I will say this. I've been an attorney now for 40-some years, and I've enjoyed every minute of it, and you can't ask for more than that. And Auburn is my last employment because I'm going to be retiring pretty soon, and I'm grateful for every minute here in Auburn. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Dan. And if you would go forward and accept the appreciation of council for a job well done. As Dan mentioned, he will be retiring in June. We will be very sad to see him go, but we will have more opportunity to celebrate with him before he leaves. But he has done such an exceptional job representing our city as our city attorney. And we are very privileged to have had his good counsel and his expertise for these many years. And our last proclamation is Building Safety Month. Remember I said we had Autism Month, we had a Day for Law, we have a Building Safety Month. And I think it's appropriate that we have people from our Community Development Department here. Who would you like to come up? All y'all, come on up. So these are some of the people that work on a daily basis dedicated to this city to help ensure the safety. And again, this is for building safety. And so let me read the proclamation. It says, whereas the City of Auburn is committed to recognizing our growth and strength depends on the safety and economic value of the homes, buildings, and infrastructure that serve our cities, both in everyday life and in times of natural disaster. And whereas our confidence in the structural integrity of these buildings that make up our community is achieved through the devotion of vigilant guardians, building safety and fire prevention officials, architects, engineers, builders, tradespeople, design professionals, laborers, and others in the construction industry who work year-round to ensure the safe construction of buildings. And whereas these guardians are dedicated members of the International Code Council, a U.S.-based organization that brings together local, state, and federal officials that are experts in the built environment to create and implement the highest quality codes to protect us in the buildings where we live, learn, work, worship, play. And whereas our nation benefits economically and technologically from using the international codes that are developed by a national voluntary consensus codes and standards development organization. Government is able to avoid the high cost and complexity of developing and maintaining these codes and the most widely adopted building safety and fire prevention codes in the nation in protecting the public from national disasters. Whereas Building Codes Saves Lives, the theme for Building Safety Month 2018, encourages all Americans to raise awareness of the importance of building safety and resilient construction, fire prevention, disaster mitigation, and new technologies in the construction industry. Building Safety Month 2018 encourages appropriate steps everyone can take to ensure that the places where we live, learn, work, worship, and play are safe, and recognize that countless lives have been saved due to the implementation of safety codes by local and state agencies. And now, therefore, I, Nancy Backus, Mayor of the City of Auburn, do hereby proclaim May 2018 as Building Safety Month in the City of Auburn and encourage our citizens to join with their communities in participation in Building Safety Month activities. Fernando, I believe I'm going to give this to you. Is that correct?
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. And would you like to say a few words, and then everybody can introduce themselves? How's that?
Sure. Well, my name is Fernando Fernandez. I'm a building inspector with Community Development, and thank you, Mayor and council members, for helping us raise awareness on our Building Safety Month of May. Building codes are very important, and together with code officials and designers, architects, engineers, we keep the community safe. It's society's best way of keeping structures, churches, stores, movie theaters safe for generations to come.
Michael Groves, I do the building review and inspections.
Kelly Costco, I'm with the inspections.
April Schrader, I'm the permit technician.
All right, and if you would all like to go forward and accept the appreciation of council, that would be awesome. We have a truly dedicated and professional team that does the work of our city every day. These are just a few examples of that great work.
Pretty cool.
All right, we will move on. Sean, do we have an agenda modification tonight, I believe?
Yes, Your Honor. Sorry, guys. Right here. We've updated the agenda for adding resolution 5364 as item C and the proclamation for Law Day.
Thank you very much. All right, we will move on. We have no public hearings this evening. We will move to audience participation. This is the place on the agenda where the public is invited to speak to the City Council on any issue. Those wishing to speak are reminded to sign in on the form provided, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Anyone like to speak? Please come forward, give your name and address for the record.
Virginia Haugen, 2503 R Street Southeast. I'm going to start with the nasty little comments. In the 1990s, the city started to become like a development institution. Let's buy property and sell it and make sure the right guy gets it and he gets to build what he wants. Now, what are we going to become? A publishing company? I have 3 things here, but I would like to say that I wrote a note to myself that there is power in data. I found a box in this one, that one. I read all of the articles. I know who wrote 2 of the articles. She did an absolutely incredible job, but sounds like a brag sheet for the city of Auburn to me, except for this part. There is a lot of data right there in a small box. I got exactly what I wanted in the way of data from, and that's what the public wants from you, the city of Auburn, because you serve us. Yes, you are public servants. You get paid to be public servants. Now, for the nice part of Virginia Haugen, and if I offended anyone at the last public meeting, I apologize. I did not mean to offend. I simply am here to make comments. Thank you to the city of Auburn for the daffodils. I see them every year. This year, I caught myself looking for them, waiting for them. And I hope that people in Auburn enjoy them as much as I do. Plant them. If you have a little tiny space that the city owns and you want to put 6 daffodils there, do it because they'll come back next year. I would also like to thank Nancy Backus for a small conversation that we had before the last public meeting I attended in this room. Conversation without using our brains, without reading and understanding and having conversations with people, we are nowhere. I was privileged to sit in on a council study session where a woman explained how council members get along with regard to the Open Meetings Act and Robert's Rules of Order. I was on the city council for 6 years altogether, and no one ever realized that we could have brought someone in maybe every 2 years to simply talk to us about Robert's Rules of Order and how it applies to the Open Meetings Act, and I will explain. I was asked to leave a meeting one night because our mayor had the wherewithal to ask me to please excuse myself from the vote. I needed to not vote because I had a conflict of interest, and a council member brought it to the other council members' attention. She did exactly what she was supposed to do, and she did it in a calm, collected manner that did not ruffle any feathers. However, when I was told to leave the room, that is not in the Open Meetings Act, and I got up and left, and you think I wasn't ticked off at myself for leaving the meeting? I didn't get to vote, but that was my fault. Leaving the meeting was somebody else's fault, and the audience was horrified. But that's my stupidity, because I didn't know that there were people out there, even with my training on Olympia, nobody told me how to react, to be told, when I was told to leave the room because I couldn't vote on a certain issue because of my conflict of interest, there was no one else to turn to. You folks have somebody to turn to, so thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Please come forward, give your name and address for the record.
Victoria Pacho, and I live on 12 B Street Northeast. What I found in the news was actually alarming. The fact that Robert's rules are so fundamental to our democracy, and the fact that our council did not know how to use them appropriately, and it resulted in our deputy mayor being uprooted from her seat, I think is absolutely terrifying. I was here when the city of Auburn was talking about Sanctuary City. And in that meeting, Robert's laws were not used. I had asked for a point of clarification, for a point of information, and I was told we don't use Robert's laws. I was trying to explain to myself that we did use them, and it's okay, we don't have to disagree because it is recorded. So I think it's very interesting that after the deputy mayor runs for mayor, she comes back into the office after a loss. That office decides to throw the book at her, Robert's laws, which in the history has not used Robert's laws, nor has provided professional training to the council member, for what I'm hearing for years. And so when that member, Largo, who lost, comes back, the next thing that happens is she is now uprooted because of a comment that she made under her breath. A comment that she made under her breath, which is a symptom of an environment that is not conducive to the democracy or to your city people being heard, your city members. I find it absolutely shocking, and I just wanted to point that out and have it be on record. It was a timely place to throw the book at Largo Wells when you yourself had just cracked open the laws and learned them and how to reinstate them. And I can see the difference, especially in your demeanor. And as I'm witnessing now, and as I'm witnessing as we walked in, and the deputy wasn't here, and as I witnessed before, your demeanor is unbecoming, I feel, because it is a little bit condescending. Just now you kind of, earlier when Largo didn't show up, you're like, where is she? Oh, let's, you made it. It's the demeanor in which you work. And so I'm worried about the environment in which these wonderful people who do represent your city members have to work in. And I am concerned about the openness and the
Your
conversations that are
your
happening.
3 minutes are up. You do need to wrap up your comments.
Thank you, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone else that would like to speak? Final time? All right, thank you very much. We will move on to correspondence. Sean, do we have any correspondence this evening?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Council Ad Hoc Committee reports. Council Ad Hoc Committee chairs may report on the status of their ad hoc council committee's progress on assigned tasks and may give their recommendations to the City Council, if any. And we have Finance, Councilmember Brown, I believe.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The Finance Committee reviewed 208 claim vouchers from vouchers reported the dates of 4/16/2018 for a total of $4,260,000. In addition, there were 4 wire transfers in the amount of $484,000. All claims appear to be reasonable and in good order. Additionally, we reviewed the payroll vouchers from 3/29/2018 to 4/11/2018. There were 21 checks and 541 direct deposits totaling $2,175,000. The Finance Committee recommends approval.
Thank you very much. And the roads prioritization, infrastructure, Councilmember DeCoursey.
Thank you, Mayor. Very shortly, our next meeting is tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock here at City Hall.
Thank you. All right, we will move on to the consent agenda. All matters listed on the consent agenda are considered by the City Council to be routine and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. Do we have a motion? Councilmember Trout Manuel.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilmember DeCoursey.
I'll second the motion, Your Honor.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Councilmember Trout Manuel, would you like to speak to the motion?
Well, we don't need to go any through the whole thing that Mr. Brown has already commented on, and also Mr. DeCoursey. So I just recommend that the council accepts the agenda as read.
Okay, and that includes Public Works Project
And
number
Public Works.
CP 1312.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Are there any questions or comments? Councilmember Pelosa.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a question for the clerk on item 7A, as in Apple, regarding minutes. Several months ago, I queried how many aged minutes we had that have not been published. How close are we for being up to date?
Well, as I told you then, we're still working pretty much every weekend. Both Danny and I are here every weekend working on minutes. I know that she provided you at that time a list of all outdated minutes, but since then, there's been meetings that minutes haven't been written for.
If you could please update that previous list that you sent out?
Sure.
So we can see where the aging is?
Well, it would appear if you look under the minutes, item B, you have the August 22nd, 2016 council study session on there. And since there are no actions taken on the study sessions, those are the minutes that are aged, because all of the council meetings are up to date. We are April 2nd council meeting and April 9th.
Correct.
February 12th, August 8th, 2016, and August 22nd, 2016. So it appears that you're coming up to...
So there are sporadic ones between August of 2016 to current and study sessions that have been done, but consistently since August of 2016 to current.
I can appreciate that, Sean, but I'd like to see that last list updated.
Okay.
We can provide you with an updated list.
Thank you,
Councilmember.
appreciate that. And I have another question.
Is there anyone else that has a question? All right, Councilmember Pelosi.
And this is dealing with item E for easy. This is $1.2 million on stormwater repair. And I think this is a fantastic accomplishment by our engineering department. This city is 126 years old, right? And you can imagine the various pipes throughout the city, both sewer and water and stormwater. The significant amount of aging that goes on in those pipes. And so I just wanted to congratulate the engineering department for keeping on the ball so that these areas of construction continue to flow the water. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes. We have no unfinished business. We have no new business. So, Mr. City Attorney, we will move to resolutions.
Thank you, Your Honor. Resolution number 5362, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Auburn, Washington, authorizing the mayor to apply for and receive grant funds from the Washington State Department Recreation and Conservation Office for Green River 104th Avenue Park Project.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Do we have a motion? Councilmember DeCoursey.
Thank you, Mayor. I move the City Council adopt resolution number 5362.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilmember Pelosi.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Councilmember DeCoursey.
Thank you, Mayor. And again, as the city attorney mentioned, this is a resolution to submit an application for, and if awarded, to accept the State of Washington Recreational Conservation Office funds for a capital project for funding the Green River 104th Avenue project, allowing for the development of almost a 15-acre park in that area. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of resolution number 5362, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Passes.
Resolution number 5363, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Auburn, Washington, authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with city department directors, employees for employment services.
Thank you. Is there a motion? Councilmember Holman.
I move for the resolution number 5363 be adopted.
Thank you. Is there a second? Deputy Mayor Baggett.
I'll second that, Your Honor.
Thank you. Councilmember Holman.
This deals with giving the mayor the ability to execute a contract with department directors. You heard our legal counsel, who's a department director, talking about retirement. There is another department director that is retiring this year. And so we will be having 2 vacancies. We need the ability to recruit top-notch people for these places and positions. And this is a more in standing with other cities in our surrounding area and allows us to compete for top talent.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Councilmember Trout-Manuel.
I talked to Attorney Dan a minute ago about this. The question I asked him is, how do we draw our pool? Because I had several phone calls from different people from our community wanting to know how come we don't have the representation of our community. You look on our dais and we're all white. Well, you know, it's all white. You look at our directors and it's all white. You look at some of our committees and the chairs are all white. And so I asked him, how do we go and get the pool of people so that we can start having representation of people of color? And so he pretty much shared with me how you do it. But how far do we reach out to people to apply for positions when there's availability?
So there is wide-reaching recruiting. going on. Councilmember Pelosi.
Attorney Hyde, aren't we, the city of Auburn, an EOE city?
We are absolutely an equal opportunity employer, and we recruit very widely for all, I'm sure, all positions.
Right.
Matter of fact, we try to scour the state for anybody that's eligible and anybody that's interested, and we look forward to diversity among our applicants. Unfortunately, you can only consider what you receive.
Correct, and that was my point. All of the advertisements that I have seen reflect EOE, and so it's up to the interested parties to seek out that job if they're qualified. Thank you.
Well, and our city has done far more diversity recruiting in the past couple of years. In fact, an outstanding job done in the Auburn Police Department. There has been a diversity hiring that is starting to reflect more of our community. All right, are there any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of resolution number 5363, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. Passes.
Resolution number 5364, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Auburn, Washington, authorizing the mayor to execute an easement granting to Puget Sound Energy easement rights for undergrounding electrical utilities that will serve the new bathroom at Lesko Park.
Thank you. Is there a motion? Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to move resolution 5364 for adoption.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilmember Holman.
Second.
Thank you. Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, this resolution will allow the mayor to authorize and grant an easement to Puget Sound Energy to install underground power. The project requires a new secondary transformer and underground electrical service between primary and secondary transformers at Lesko Park. The electrical service line provides power to the new restroom and the multi-purpose building.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of resolution number 5364, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes. All right, we have completed the official business of the city, and we will move on to this time where the mayor and city council may report on significant items associated with their appointed positions on federal, state, regional, and local organizations. And we will begin with Deputy Mayor Baggett.
Thank you, Your Honor. On April 11th, the Emergency Management Advisory Committee, or EMAC, held its monthly meeting with the primary focus centered around the EMAC retreat that was held in February and the next steps. This comes from a review of the Cascade Rising event that took place throughout the state and where we actually go from here. A proposed path forward was developed that grouped the findings into 6 strategic theme areas: catastrophic planning, regional coordination, preparedness and outreach, critical infrastructure, mass care, and support for the responders. Each theme area will have planning, organization, equipment, training, and exercise components within them. The work will be led by the King County Office of Emergency Management, better known as OEM, and will begin with a 2-year outlook. This will be critical to assure that our region is prepared in the event of a major emergency or disaster. We will be changing where in the past money tended to drive these priorities to a process where the priorities will now guide how the money and effort will be spent. Another item, we had an opportunity here to spend some time with our seniors over at the Activity Center. Councilmember Larry Brown and myself entertained, if you will, about 4 very spirited seniors over there at the senior center, and they asked very good questions about concerns around the city. Not the least of them were the 4-way stop right outside the senior center. So I think that I'm going to engage some of our individuals who handle those kind of code requirements and installations in the city to attend maybe one of the next coffee hours, because those same people have asked the same question several times. Another item here, Medic One and the EMS Levy Planning Task Force meetings, they continue with each discipline that will lead up to a December levy for 2019 for continuance of these critical services to our local and county communities. Projections, and these are just estimates, may range from 23 cents to 26 cents per $1,000 of assessed value. I just want to point out there's a meeting coming up here this coming Wednesday. This is the Flood and Emergency Preparedness Town Hall meeting. This is sponsored by King County Council Member Pete Von Reichbauer. It'll be this Wednesday, April 18th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. at the Thomas Jefferson High School in Auburn, with panelists from the King County Flood Control District, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and the King County Emergency Management. I encourage, they're all open to the public, and if you haven't had an opportunity to attend one of these meetings on emergency preparedness, this would be an excellent opportunity with these panelists. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Pelosa.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a very brief report tonight. I know the mayor will be happy about that. Anyway, I went to the Tahoma National Cemetery today to honor a 93-year-old WW2 vet, Navy veteran. His name is Robert E. Lee. Can you imagine that name? Robert E. Lee. Robert was a member and a former post commander of our own VFW here in Auburn, post 1741. And I've never seen this before, but normally they send out enlisted Navy guys for a Navy person that's being interned at the cemetery. But they sent out a full commander, 3 stripes, and a lieutenant commander, two stripes and a thin one in the middle. And I thought, and they presented the flag. They unfold the flag and they hold it up like this, you know, one at one end and one at the other end. And then the volunteers out there gave their nice ceremony in respect of Robert E. Lee. We have been following Robert E. Lee. He's had a cat of 9 lives. He's been in and out of the Canterbury House facility here in Auburn, and he lived in a trailer park over on A Street. U.S. Navy, anchors away. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Trout Manuel.
Well, I'm going to break the rules here, and I'm going to bring my cell phone out because I didn't get a chance to print this out.
Do you want to turn?
I did.
You want to? Well, your microphone is right there. Yeah.
And I'm going to do a little bit of bragging. I belong to the National Leagues of City Hispanic group, HELO. And in March, they kept sending me an email asking me to submit something that our city is doing due to the Hispanic or minority community. And so I went ahead and I sent forward the email over to Dana and also to Pat Bailey and asked them if they could help me out on this. So what they did is that they sent they put together a letter with Dana's help on everything that we've been doing here locally with our Hispanic, the tribal, and also with the other minority groups. And they forward the letter over to Ann Lopez, who is our National Leagues of Cities, one of our directors there. And, well, we ended up being picked. There was 3 cities that were picked, and they sent us a letter of congratulations. And they address minority health for the month of April. And let me see, which are the 2 other cities. One was the National Black Caucus, and the other one was from Idaho and from Illinois, and then us from the city of Auburn. And what we talked about was everything that we are doing with the Blue Ribbon organization that they've done with the tribal, training the Native American young ladies how to breastfeed their children and the importance of breastfeeding, and then the Latino community, giving them English lessons and also teaching them first aid and teaching them how to eat well. And the other organization, they're just now starting to make arrangements to get together with them. We also have a second group of Latinos who have come up, and they asked that they would also like to learn English and also to do more projects within their neighborhoods. We have gotten together with Chief Lee and talked to him about making the apartments communities. There's 3 areas that we're really focusing on trying to make it a safer place for them. So anyways, they gave a shout out to the city of Auburn for the nice job that we are doing. So thank you, Dana, for helping out on that.
Okay. Councilmember Holman.
No report, Your Honor.
Thank you. Councilmember Brown.
No report, Mayor. Thank you.
Councilmember DeCoursey.
And 3rd time, no report.
Wow. All right. Well, I will move on to a few of the activities in the last couple of weeks. On Tuesday, April 3rd, I had a meeting with the CEO of Habitat for Humanity, Gail Luxembourg, and some of you may be aware, but the former Eagle Leather store on Auburn Way South has gone out of business, and in its place will be Habitat for Humanity reclaimed and new merchandise coming in. So we are very excited for that business to be coming to our community. As you know, Habitat for Humanity does some great things. They worked with us on a house that the city owns on 9th Street Southeast to do a rehab of that facility, and they did excellent work. So we are very proud of the partnership we have and look forward to them being business partners in our community as well. On the 5th of April, some of us attended the grand opening of the City of Algona's new community center and city hall. A beautiful new building. I know they are very, very proud of their effort, and the mayor of Algona, Mayor Hill, no longer has to have his office in a trailer out back of their building. He has his own beautiful office now on the 2nd floor. So congratulations, Mayor Hill. On the 7th, on Saturday the 7th, I went up to Bellevue early in the morning to do some interviews with the CEO candidates for the new Regional Trade and Economic Development Alliance that is going to be formed. The former, well, still the Economic Development Council of Seattle and King County, of which I am executive board member, is going to be merging, if you will, with the Trade Alliance, and also working with Tacoma and Snohomish County as well as King County in order to make the Seattle region far more attractive to new businesses, new large companies, and to people moving to the area, and not just regionally, but and statewide, nationwide, and international. And so the importance of the proper CEO in that position is significant, and so I I enjoyed meeting the two candidates, and were very different in their presentation style, and can't wait to see who they finally decide to hire for that position. We should be announcing the final decision very soon. Also, on Friday the 6th, we swore in 2 new police officers, Officers Slate and Doyen, who we have 4 more, I believe, in the academy right now. Is that right, Commander? 4 more that we will be swearing in very soon. You have a department that, as I mentioned earlier, is beginning to better reflect our community as a whole, and very proud of these new officers. They are doing great work, and if you haven't met them yet, I'm sure you will enjoy meeting them. Well, hopefully it's a positive meeting. We always want those meetings to be positive. Wanted to remind everyone that this Saturday is Clean Sweep. We have 770 registered volunteers already. Hopefully most of them will convene out here at City Hall Plaza for the ceremonial sweep down Main Street. If you and your team have not yet registered, there's still time to do so, right, Daryl? There is. Always time to come and, as we said during the State of the City, this is a great way to love your city. And with 770 registered volunteers, I would say there's lots of love being shown for the city this weekend. Also that day, however, is a rather sad event. We lost Dr. Jim Fugate last week after a long battle with illness, and his memorial service, a celebration of his life and his accomplishments, will be held Saturday, April 21st at 2 p.m. at the Auburn High School Commons. Dr. Fugate, I'm sure many of you, I know at least a couple of us up here on the panel, graduated from Auburn High School. I had the good fortune of graduating while Dr. Fugate was the superintendent for the Auburn School District. He was there in that role from 1973 to 1997, and as I walked across the stage in 1979, Dr. Fugate was there to hand me my diploma, and I will always cherish that. And we wish his wife Billy and his 4 daughters the very best as they settle into a life without Dr. Fugate there on a daily basis, and we wish them, we give them our deepest sympathies. And Mr. City Attorney, do we have any need for a closed or an executive session this evening?
No, we do not, Your Honor.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.